evening, and welcome to the Caring View, the online health and social care platform, free to access to absolutely everybody. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like and that follow button on whatever platform you are watching us on tonight, be that YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Instagram. We are there, we are on it. Go to www.thecaringview.co.uk for all of our free resources, our latest podcast episode, chat show episodes, posters, supplier lists, and find out all about our fabulous sponsors. The Caring View is 100% free, does not cost you anything to access our services, our products, our resources, our content, nothing at all. And the only reason we do that is because we have some fabulous sponsors who help us along our way. So without further ado, roll call, please. We have Prosperwell. Tibo Toby, fabulous Toby from previously Smooth Digital. It is now Prosperwell. Do go check out Prosperwell for your digital marketing needs. We have CBAT, Care Business Associate Training. Go check those out. Go follow Paul Blaine on, God, he's going to kill me. Paul Blaine on pretty much any social media platform. Follow him on his personal journey as well as his professional journey, but do go check out CBAT. We've got Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers for all of your comprehensive care coverage needs. And as introduced last week, we've got Log My Care, the intuitive care management platform loved by complex care providers all around the country. And finally, last but not least, we have Florence, directly connecting health professionals and organizations with shifts and training. All of their details will be running across the screen throughout this entire episode. We are joined today again by the fabulous Kavita Brown. Good evening, Kavita.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me again.
You're most welcome. Anytime, Kavita. Come do my job next time so I can have a week off. And we have the fabulous Mark. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening. Good to see you both.
Can I just confess something? It is so cold. Like, it is so
you had
cold.
some small hands then.
Oh, you know those little videos on TikTok where they have like them tiny hands? I love those ones where, you know, where they paint lips on the nose and then like they cover their face like that. It looks like they've got like a tiny head. They're hilarious. No, it's so cold. I'm up north. For anyone watching this who doesn't know, I am Blackpool, Lancashire, and it is Baltic up here. It is. I've already admitted I am getting my pumpkins down this weekend and decorating for autumn and soon to be Halloween. Let us know in the comments if it's cold where you are. I've been forbidden to put the heating on tonight, hence me wearing a coat. So I do apologise, but I'm a pauper, and if you see breath coming out of my mouth, it's because it's like 4 degrees here. Oh, tonight we are talking vision, values, and leadership, and how to create a team with purpose. If you do have values in your organisation, do let us know in the comments what they are. It'd be really interesting to hear what your values are. But Mark, I'm going to hand over to you to get us started.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm really looking forward to tonight's conversation. But I think before we kick it off, we had a number of people in some of the groups when I was sharing it kind of midweek, talking about vision and values, and it spurred on some conversations around what a vision and value is and the mission statement, and then a bit of kind of back and forth between some of the managers. So I guess, Kavita, the first question is, what is a vision and value in the context of leadership and organizational kind of values?
So I suppose we could split that between leadership and then between your organisation. So if we look at organisation first, as most organisations, the majority of organisations have some sort of vision or mission, something that they're striving towards, they're working towards, their ultimate goal that they want to achieve. So most commonly in social care, you'll hear things like be the provider of choice, the employer of choice within a certain area, or across adult social care, for example. And this isn't only true for all social care. Any organisation has them. So your companies like Tesco's, Next, etc., will have a vision that they're trying to achieve. Some sort of, I always call a vision, an organisation vision, your North Star, your guiding light, your direction of travel, if you like. And it should be far-reaching. It should be easy to get to. You may never achieve it. You may never get to that vision, but it's your direction of travel. And then you have a set of organisation values. And for me, those values are about how we will get to that vision. So this is what the behaviours, the collective behaviours that are important to us as an organisation. So for us to achieve that vision, this is the kind of way we'll do it, and how we talk to people, how we treat people, etc. And majority of leaders, I would say, would adopt those visions and those values, the organisation ones. But I would also say that as a leader, we need to think about yourself as a leader and what's your vision for my team. So whether you're a senior carer a head housekeeper, an ops director, whatever your job title is, if you're leading a group of people, what's your vision? You may just be a senior carer on the shift on that day, but what is it you're trying to achieve for that shift for that day? And equally, the values probably will mirror the organisation's values, so people really start living and breathing them as well. So that's how I kind of explain vision and values.
Thank you very much. And listening to you there talk about the vision being kind of like the Northern Star and where you want to be, should providers have something that is generic? So like be the provider of choice, or should they have something that's a bit more punchy, out of the box? Because they are all very, very similarly when you kind of start looking on a lot of the care providers' websites at the vision and values.
I would say have something that reflects you and your organisation, but also have something that's different. That is maybe something outside the box that does stand out in that competitive market, makes it stand out for whether it's people with care and support needs utilising your services, or it's people looking for jobs and you're trying to attract people, but something that will stand you out as different, because that will snap that headline that I used of being the provider of choice. It's used time and time again by people. So how many organisations can be the provider of choice? Yeah, so I would try to do, and please don't put me on the spot to ask me to think of one now, because I can't at the moment. I'll see if something pops into my head. But yeah, something that maybe that's a little bit different.
I totally agree. I mean, for me, your values, I agree with everything you've just said, Kavita. Absolutely 100%. For me, your values are what are in here. You know, this is what we expect our team to live and breathe every day. It's what we believe every day. It's what our team believe every day. And if you don't believe it, why the hell is it a value? Because you're lying, basically. Your values have to be something so integral to the fiber and the genetic makeup of yourselves and your company that it makes it easy to embed them. I would say, just listening to what you were asking them, Mark, about the vision, I personally have no issue with generic vision statements, because we're all in social care for one reason, one reason only, is to provide outstanding care for people to live empowered lives. You know, it could be that your vision statement is something so sort of generic that it is to be the leading care provider of compassionate, personalized care, or to be the number one care provider in such and such. So it's one of those where that, for me, is what you want to do, and you know that's where you're going to be. That's how you're going to get that. I love a little thing called proposition statements, and that for me is your USP sometimes, of like, how do you do it differently? You know, what is it about your services that do things that makes you stand out, that makes you go, wow, that's the company I want to go for. You can always mix and match it, merge visions and propositions together, and have your sort of, you know, through the use of intuitive AI and other stuff, we are going to be the number one provider. You've got a proposition and a vision all in one there. So it's all around what resonates with you. I would say, and I don't know whether you agree, Kavita, and maybe this is something, Mark's given me a list of questions, and I'm terrible. I never listen to them, but I do. I love them. I love that Mark gets prepared, and then I just never look at them for an entire show, and I promise I am going to tonight. However, putting together our visions, putting together our values is always something that I believe we should involve our team, the people who use our services in, because that, you know, that as well shows you where you want to be going. Because you could sit there as a director and go, my vision is to be the richest care company in the world. Whoa! And then you're like, people who use your services like, actually, we really just want really good care and just want to be really looked after. I don't care whether you use AI or not. I just want outstanding care, and that is what I want. So how important is it to you to involve our team, involve the people who use our services, and what tips do you have around how we can approach that?
Yeah, 100%. I think my internet connections is saying that it's stable, but it feels like it's still jumping in and out a little bit. So I'm not sure what's going on. So I do apologise. But coming back to your question, 100% involve your staff teams, people that use your services, people that may have used your services in the past, people that may use your services in the future, as well as families as well. And develop that vision, develop those values with people, but you've got to be very authentic when you do it. So I've sat in a room before where we did this. We went out, we had workshops across the business, across different business areas. We involved as many staff as we possibly could who were willing to take part. We involved relatives, we involved family members, we involved the actual residents themselves. And it was a really good series of workshops where they were giving us great feedback, and there was common themes coming through. When we took it to the table, so to speak, a lot of it was disregarded because people at the top didn't think that they were the most suitable values for the marketplace at that time. So you've got to be, if you are going to get feedback from people, if you really want to develop your vision, your values with your people, whether it be your residents, your service users, and your staff teams, we've got to act upon that. We've got to actually really value their input, value their feedback, and then that creates our vision and our values. Because otherwise, people won't buy into it. It's almost a tick box that we're just doing it to showcase we're doing it.
That makes me think that their sort of mission or their vision values would be like, we care about people, just not enough to take on board their views. You know, we want to look after people and care for people, but we don't care what they think. You know, you want to listen to them. It's like, how do you achieve that vision that you're going to put out if actually you're just vetoing everything that people are saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So, 100%. You create that vision, create those values with people around you as well. And I think that links back into the first quality statement, I believe, under Well Led, about having that vision, having that values, the culture. Which is all encompassing, so you can really showcase that it is. But Definitely. Again, coming back to your vision, make it a bit harder to actually achieve. You don't want to make, we want to achieve, I don't know, good. I'm not saying that's easy to achieve either, but we want to achieve good within our service. Make it a little bit more far-reaching, something really that people have to work towards as a whole unity of a team. Of your whole of your organization, that everybody's heading in that direction. We're all working to that direction. And the only way they actually become live is when we ask ourselves every day, what I'm doing today, does it relate to that vision? Because if it doesn't, maybe I shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. The work I should be doing every day should be to make our journey more towards that vision that we're going towards. And if it's pulling in the opposite direction, we need to re-question what we're doing.
And make it measurable. There's no point in having a vision if you can't bloody measure how close you are to getting to it. If you've got a vision, build it into your surveys that you send out. Don't have to, have we achieved our vision? Just ask questions which link into what your vision is, and it gives you a litmus test as to where you're at. I would also say, Kavita, I totally agree. Make your visions ambitious, but I also love small visions. So, like, what's our vision for the year? This is our overarching vision. What's our sort of, as a group, what is our vision for the year? What do we want to achieve for the year? Just a quick shout out to Tina Welford in the chat before I hand it back over to Mark. A book called The Big Five for Life by John P. Strelecki is a great read on working out values and getting a team and the right team who share your and live your values, etc. She uses this on a leadership course with great positive outcomes. Look for the books, because the books are great. Like, the books are absolutely fab. And if you can find good books out there, a lot of them are written like fables or like little stories, but they are little nuggets of insight. You don't have to copy it verbatim, but just listen to what other people are saying as well. There's some really good learning out there. Mark, have I gone off piece on our questions?
No, you're okay. You can go off piece. I just like questions, just in case we ever like. I know
he scolds me after every episode. He's like, as soon as the guest is like, Adam.
I'm joking. I'll tell you what. That's absolutely fine. I'll go off piece here because I was listening and I really liked the fact that you were speaking there about having measurable vision and the values. Now, I worked with a company previously and they used to change their vision and values every year. And then we would have like a performance monitoring against each year that went into our appraisal. But it then became really hard for employees to know what the vision was, what the values were. It just kind of got lost and there was new. And I want to come on to comms in a minute, so I won't kind of go down the line of what we did to communicate it. How often should a company be looking to change the vision and values? So if there are people that are watching tonight thinking, oh, actually, I really think that we should change our vision and values and we should involve people, but we only changed it last year or the year before, what would your advice there be?
I think for me, it just depends on your strategic direction as an organisation, as a business. So if your strategic direction, your plan 4 or 5 years ago was to achieve X, Y, Z, but now, because of maybe circumstances beyond your control, actually your vision, your direction of travel is now slightly different, and your strategic plan is growing. So I know an organisation who was predominantly domiciliary care, and they kind of like dip their toe into complex care, very complex care. Over the course of probably 18 months, maybe less than that, they're now, last time I spoke to them, their dom care business is literally hardly anything. And their complex care is huge. The demand in that area for complex care is just really taken on. So obviously their strategic plan and their direction is now changed. So it would be the ideal time to re-look at that vision and re-look at those values. It may be that you look at it and thinking, yeah, the vision needs tweaking, but the values is still us. This is us. The values still stand. So I would only recommend people change it when your strategic direction or your plans start to change. And, who knows what the future may well bring to any organization, to any business as well. But equally, you may have already achieved what you needed to achieve. So now's the time to probably go back and think, right, what's our next marker? What's our next step? Because your vision doesn't have to be in place for the next 100 years. It could be a vision for the next 2 to 3 years. Right, we've achieved that, going back to what Adam was saying, of measurable visions, values. We've achieved that, and now let's relook at where do we want to grow now? Or where do we want to develop in further as well?
I'm sure they are just doing complex care for the rates that they get for that sort of stuff. I'm not surprised that their home care is sort of dwindled down. I wonder what their vision is like to become multimillionaires in the next 2 years now they're on complex care. No, I'm not being a cynic. That's terrible. No, I love that. And your old visions then become your foundation for your next vision. So, we are moving from being this to the next thing. We are growing, we are developing, we are sort of blossoming. What sort of tips could you give us before we move on to some leadership style questions? What sort of tips could you give us around embedding those values within our team? How can we check to see our team know our values? And how do we make it less of a tick box exercise of, do you know what our values are? Then how do we actually embed that through our service?
First and foremost, please don't spend thousands and thousands of pounds on fancy marketing posters and put them up everywhere. Posters are great. I'm not saying they're not a great way of communicating out your message, but if you're not going to do anything with those values, then what's the point? They're just fancy marketing posters pinned up on a wall somewhere that people are like, oh yeah, what was the values again? So there's lots of things that you can do to really embed them into everyday practice. Going back on your point, Adam, pick them up into your surveys. So you start asking those really legitimate questions throughout your surveys, your staff surveys, your resident surveys, professional surveys, etc. Does your organisation actually show that they're living and breathing them as well? Pick them up in your supervisions. So link them back to your supervisions. You can link it back if you're an organisation that does annual awards, link them back to your annual awards. So if one of your vision is, I don't know, about respect, for example, then you could have an award around respect. Pick them up when you're acknowledging really good work that people are doing and you're praising people on the good work. And what I mean by that is tell people why they're getting that praise. Tell people why they're getting that acknowledgement. And that you can easily then link back into your values as well, that you've really displayed these values. Use them in your recruitment. So when you're advertising, but also through your interview process, through your shortlisting and your interview process. So when you're interviewing, make sure you add in some questions in there around your values. Competency questions, you can really test, do people have those values, that heart to care, before you offer them the employment? So those are just top of my head kind of things that you can quite easily do, I would say, to really embed them in every true life. I mean, I know organizations that when you put your laptops on, what's the word I'm looking for? Not on mute, but when you lock your laptops, the values go across the laptops. So it's kind of almost sublime messages going out to everybody. It's always around there as well. Make it part of your branding.
You mean like screensavers on your laptop?
That's it. Screensavers. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah.
I just stamp it to the forehead every time they walk through the door. Like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, where you've got like sleepy, grumpy and stuff. Today you are trustworthy. Today you are passionate. Today you are this, and I can walk around with the values on their head. Sorry, Mark, over to you.
No need to apologise. I think you do have to take advantage of any small place you've got. So if you're a home care worker, actually most of them have a mobile device. The background of their phone could be the vision or could be the values in some easy format to understand. Or on the back of I've seen a load of care companies now to try and reduce the cost and the turnover of broken phones, providing phone cases. Actually, instead of having a branded company one, could just have the vision and the values on the back of the phone. Little things that actually, put it on a pen or something, things that people are going to be using all the time. You spoke around, oh, go on. Were you going to say something?
No, go on. I think I just got
you spoke there around. No, that's okay. You spoke there around kind of the role of leadership, and kind of you started to talk about what makes a good leader. Why do you think we've gone from kind of the old management style, I would say, of people being told what to do, to the kind of the new leadership that's now become the norm? And I think there's still a few people that like to tell people what to do, but of bringing people on a journey. And what difference does that make to an organisation, the difference between the two?
Ooh. So the question, why has that changed? That's a big old question, that one is. Multiple different reasons. You could say it's changed from, I suppose, the different types of generations that we're now working with and what people want from work. So I'll just give you an example of that. So my dad, bless his heart, just bordering on the age of 80, he'd always worked at Ford Motor Company down in Southampton. And he'd been there from day dot, I don't know, way before I was born, and he retired with Ford Motor Company. And he was, I suppose, he was a proper grafter, and he is still a proper grafter, but he was very much that generation that I'm working to put food on the table and to survive and to get the house and make it warm and, you know, pay for the education for my kids, etc., etc. And I think when you start looking at different generations, so I think when I look at myself and my siblings and our generation, we're very much like, actually what we want from work is we don't really have to survive with work. What we want from work are more opportunities, we want a bit more of a standard of living, and we want all those kind of opportunities that come forward. And I think other generations, maybe a generation younger than me, are more looking for, I want some sort of experience. I want to live by experiences. You know, that generation kind of done all of the other bits of the hard grafting. And, you know, we want something different. So I think a lot of leadership has changed because people are demanding something different. I think competition is very tight. You don't really get people. So I remember when I took redundancy for one of my job roles, and I was there for about 10 years, and I took the voluntary redundancy. My dad was absolutely mortified because he was like, well, what do you mean you're leaving? But why are you leaving? What you haven't got a job to go to. Why have you taken redundancy? Because he'd stayed loyal to that company for 40 odd years. So it was a new concept. But I think people are just demanding something different. And it's very competitive, completely competitive out there. So if somebody's not getting something from their manager, their leader, their boss that they need, they can just simply go somewhere else. It's a very different workplace. So I think that question is, that's just a example of why it has changed. But equally, it's changed because we know it now works. This is what works in this day and age. You know, we are in 2024. We shouldn't be telling people off. We should be having constructive conversations with them.
No, absolutely. And in terms of employees staying with a company, so my dad was very similar, joined the police at 16, retired at 60, spending his whole career there. I've moved around, so I spent 3-4 years in a job, then I moved to a different company and kind of bounce around. And a bit like you, my parents find it really strange and I think unsettling when I tell them, oh, I'm looking for another job. Does that make embedding vision and values harder with an ever-changing team than it would have done years ago with a consistent team that was loyal and dedicated?
You could argue that with a consistent, loyal, dedicated team, complacency jumps in. And actually, people will just come into work and just become complacent because we all do. We are human beings. You could argue the other way. I don't think it does. I think if you've got a strong vision and values that are truly embedded throughout the organisation, that people believe in and bought into and really aspire to work in that way, then that has, regardless of your turnover of staff, people leaving after 2-3 years for different experiences, that's still breeding. It's still evolving. It's still being fed down the chain and across the chain, should I say, as well. So I don't think, you know, your staff turnover should really affect it. I think if you've got a very high staff turnover, then you probably have to relook at your leadership and your vision and your values. Are you living them or aren't you living them in practice?
Adam, back to you. You're on mute, though. Can't find his mute button. Does this once a week.
Once a week. That's like every week then. That's just every show. I just do this every show. I've been doing it for 4 years and I still don't know how to do things. Yeah, I mean, I suppose as well, you know, your retention rates or your attrition rates, whichever way you want to have a look at it, if you're really embedding your values, and it could be that it's not your values that are scaring people off, we should have value-based recruitment as well. You know, we should be embedding that through all steps. So actually, people before they even join our company should know what our values are. You know, people walking down the street, you know, should be, oh, that's that company. Yeah, they, you know, they believe in this, or they do that. They believe in this. That's how we want the values to spread. We want that to be that word of mouth sort of, you know, I'm really, you know, one of our values that the company that I work for at the moment is to be proud. You know, we want to be proud, and we want people to walk away from our service going, oh, I'm really proud to work there. Go to work at there because, you know, it's a really, really, really great place and you'll be proud to work there. Perfect. You know, that's embedding one of our values in our everyday sort of thing. And I always say to people, you know, in the teams, you know, we're never going to get everything right. No one gets everything right. If you get everything right, you're lying. You know, and that's it. You are lying. If you think you're perfect, you're lying. And the only thing that I ask you is to go home at the end of every day and go, am I proud of what I've done today? Have I done everything to the best of my ability? You know, have I lived to our values? Have I supported people that rely on me in the best way? Have they had everything that's meaningful to them? Are they going to have a nice night? Are they going to, you know, be happy tomorrow? And if the answer to that is yes, be proud. Literally, just be proud and be happy of what you've done. And if you can do that, you're embedding those values. You're living those values, because that's what I don't want you to fake it. That's just what I want you to feel. I just want you to feel proud of what you do, because I'm proud of what you do, you know, and it's just so integral to everything we do. So it might seem a bit twee. You know, we spoke at the beginning of the show about how visions can be quite generic. You think visions are generic? Look at bloody values in social care: trustworthy, caring, kind, passionate. They're the same everywhere, and there's a reason for it. It's because it's true, and that's what we do want our services to be. Funny story, I remember when I used to do some leadership training, we do a section on values. I always say to them, you know, who's got values in their organization? And everyone puts their hands up. And I go, great. I'm going to come in and I'm going to come and chat to some of your team. How many of you with your hands up would still be confident if I asked your team what the values were and they could tell me what they are? All the hands started going down. And I remember this one chap, and he said to me, and I don't want to call him out, I can't even remember where he's from, so if you're watching, I do apologize. He said, I said, what's one of your values? And he said, it was something like to treat all stakeholders with kindness. And I said, okay, what's a stakeholder? And he was like, well, you know, residents, staff, people who come into the service, relatives. And I was like, so people? Oh, yeah. Treat all people with kindness. It's like you're missing the human element.
Yeah.
Just about people, and actually maybe it embeds itself a little bit more because people understand it then. Try and avoid that sort of pompous language that we know because we have to know, and CQC asks us, you know, about stakeholders, but people just care about people. So use language that is meaningful to people and that they understand. Oh,
just coming back to your just a comment that you just made there, then Adam, when you said that a lot of organisations in social care have the same values of respect, kindness, compassion, dignity, etc., etc. There is also a school of thought that should those really be our values? Because shouldn't we be doing those anyway? Isn't that just what we should be doing? So are they really, should there be values such as respect, etc.? Because people expect us, that's how we should be doing it. We should be dealing with people with respect, treating people with dignity, you know, privacy, etc., etc. So what's your thoughts on that then? There is a school of thought saying, in adult social care, do we need them to be our values? Because that should be what we're doing on the tin.
So I totally agree. I'm totally for that. I think it harkens back to the first episode you came on for, Kavita, about that sort of innovation for the future. I think people who are watching this who don't currently have a set of values, I think it's more of a difficult ask because they've got to work with ensuring that the basics are there first. And I'm not saying that if you don't have values, you don't have the basics, but get that embedded, get those basics embedded first, and then move over to things like innovative. You know, we are going to be innovative as a company. We're going to be community driven. I used to love we used to have community driven at one of my old organizations. We used to have innovation as one of our values. You know, be fun. We're going to be fun. We are going to be fun. And that is, you know, that is a value of ours, is to be fun. You know, and that's, you know, I mean, most people who've heard me talk about social care are surprised that one of my values isn't being sexy, because I think social care needs to be sexy. I think it needs to be delicious. I think social care needs to be one of those things where people go, I want more of it. I love social care. I want more of it. You know, have something really exciting, different. You know, one of you guys, we're going to be different. You know, we are going to be individual, and that is what. And I don't mean person-centered care. I don't mean person-led care. I don't mean treating people individually. We're just going to be individual. Everyone here is going to be different. Everyone here is going to be fabulous. LinkedIn user, don't know your name because it's not come up on StreamYard, but 2 types of values: core values, relational values. Too often users are confused totally. So what we're discussing at the moment, Kavita, is aspirational values.
Yeah.
Mark, what sort of aspirational values would you like to see? You're on mute, Mark.
There, I've given you my idea. What did you think about it? I don't know. I do like the idea that it needs to be different, but I think you do need that buy-in from staff, because I think if it's way out there, you just won't get that buy-in, because I think staff won't relate to it at all. And I think, especially when I don't spend my time looking at people's visions and values in other sectors, but I guess if you look at like banking or finance, for example, you could probably imagine that most of their vision and values are probably all very similar around, you know, growth, income. And I don't know. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Most of the companies that I've worked for, if I'm being completely honest, are what we've discussed, are the caring, those kind of more generic, the words that we expect to hear and that we generally do see within the sector. What about you? What would you, other than obviously making social care sexy? Which I do think, even though that's really out there, I do think people can get on board with that.
I do you know what? I'm just so fed up in social care. I watched I watched plenty of TikToks, most of them about the American presidential election. It's not general election, is it? The presidential election. And then a video popped up about NASA and about these 2 poor astronauts that literally went to go get a carton of milk from space, and they're like stuck up there now till February. They're only supposed to be there 8 days, and they're going to be up there for like 9 months or something crazy. And there was like the chair of NASA who was talking. He was like 90 and can hardly get a word out. And like there was a comment in the section, and it was like, is there no one in America of a normal working age that can take these senior leadership positions? And then someone was like, well, no, because people don't retire anymore. And I feel the same in social care, because we keep so many people for so long and they end up in these really high up positions. It's a bit stuffy. It's a bit stuffy and it's a bit old fashioned. And I feel like we just need to shake it up a little bit. I'm not saying let's be ageist and sack all the old people. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I am saying is, if you're going to be sticking around into your 70s and your 80s running these services, catch up. We need to have something a little bit more fun. We need to have something a little bit more innovative. We need something that is going to inspirational. It could be one of your values is being inspirational. I know people say, well, that could be a core value. Probably it could be a core value. We want everyone to be inspirational, but you don't find that in leadership styles. Most leadership styles are, you must do this. If you do not do this, this will happen. Do this, repercussion. Don't do this, repercussion. None of it is like, if you do it like this, you could do this and you could go on to do that. We want inspiration. We want stuff that is going to make people sit there and go, oh, do you know what? I can get behind this. Like I could really get behind this. Social care needs to be sexy. So I'm saying that. I don't care. That's what I'm saying. Social care, we are going to be sexy. That is what my aspirational value would be. What about you, Kavita?
No, I 100% agree with you. And I think it's also thinking about social care and thinking, what will it look like? What would it feel like in the next 5 years, the next 10 years? Because some of these values, etc., that we have, they may not be applicable for the next generation of people moving in. So again, if I look at both my parents, my dad bordering on 80, the way we deliver care, the way care is, actually probably would, I'm not saying he needs it, but if he ever did in the future, it probably would suit his needs. But then I look at my mum, who's just turned 70, and it wouldn't meet her needs whatsoever. The way that we deliver care for older people, so to speak, it just wouldn't work for her and be fit enough for her, if that makes sense. So again, it's about thinking about these values and what about the next generations that are coming in or the generation after. I always ask people to ask themselves the question, if you ever needed care services yourself, would you be happy to receive it from the company you work in? And it's very surprising the amount of people that don't raise their hand in that question. So something needs to change. If it's not good enough for us, then yeah. So I think those ones of going forward and really working in those aspirational values that a LinkedIn user said, yeah, why not? Why not just do something different? Why do we have to do it the same because we've always done it the same? Or it's old people, it's their end of their life, so it all becomes a little bit morbid. So we have to talk about respect and caring. Well, no, people want to have fun. People want a good quality life.
Heck, one of your aspirational values could be to have good deaths.
Yes.
You know, we always talk about aspirational lives. We always talk about living the best life we possibly can do, and we still don't talk about death. We literally skim over it. It's like, oh, come and live with us. You're going to have the best, most fun life ever. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this. You'll die, but you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do this. Actually, you're going to die well. You know, you're going to come with us, you're going to live well, and you're going to die well. That could be it. That could be your company's aspirational values, to live well, to die well. You know, it could be as simple as that. And that encompasses everything. Like, it literally encompasses everything. Every single time a person dies in one of our homes, the first thing I ask is, was it a good death? Was it a good death? We only get to do it once. And I swear to God, if I don't get a good death, I'm coming back to haunt everyone. I want to go out with the best death possible. And that is period, full stop. I want sparklers. I want fireworks. My last breath, I want to be like that guy from Terminator 2 who drops the trigger and all the bombs go off. I'm going to have like that Max, like lights the fireworks and the breath goes. We need to respect people to a point where we understand they're going to die and we want to celebrate it. So it could be something like that. And sometimes we need to have these, not even taboo conversations, but those out there conversations where people think, oh, they're probably being disrespectful talking about death like this. No, it's social care.
Yeah.
We need to have these conversations first to then lead to those values. Oh, I'm going to live well, die well.
But I think that comes back to what we were talking about right at the start, that it's got to be appropriate to your service. Now, if I had to die well as a reablement service provider, I'd be kind of doing the opposite of what we do on the tin. So then it wouldn't fit around the vision and the values that the organisation that we have. Go on, I can go through some of these on the screen, Adam, if you pop them up. We've got first. Paula Cashmore. Good evening, Paula. Vision around AI and technology would be very forward-thinking. Completely agree. I think it's definitely on the roadmap. And I think if you haven't got something in the roadmap around AI and technology, you're definitely behind the times. Petros has said, I work in finance and you can actually be caring in that area as well. And this is by experience. Thank you very much for your comments.
Just coming on what Petros has said, I absolutely loved some of the work David Sheard used to do back when he had Butterfly. We've had David on the show before. David, I'm so sorry for getting what the company was. I know it was a bit fractious towards the end. Anyway, so I used to love the work they did, where it was everyone had to be caring. Everyone in your service had to be caring. And I watched that when I was quite early on into my journey in social care, and it led me to change loads of things. Like, we got rid of uniforms, we changed the way we did things, we changed the way we did our values and all of that. And actually, it was around making sure that your housekeeping team, your IPC team would help people in distress, because that's part of their role. They're there to care for people, even if it's just to clean a bedroom, for example. If they're in that bedroom with someone, they need to have that human aspect. They need to have that caring aspect. Same with your finance team, same with your HR, same with everyone who works in your organisation. Just because they're not on the front line delivering that direct care does not mean they get scot-free for being a grumpy little so-and-so. They've got to have the same values as our carers. And I think that's super, super important, like super important.
And then the last comment from Tina, she supported a service where they took the vision and the values, put them onto an A3 piece of paper, and got the residents to write how they saw the staff deliver these visions and values and how they didn't. Says it was really powerful, and you confused me there, changing it, and actually got those embedded. And a couple of people in the comments have put that they love that idea.
Yeah, that's great idea.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful tool. And then she said that they were displayed in the entrance to the service as well. So I guess going back to the conversation earlier about actually how you maximize the awareness of where they are. I want to talk around if you've got vision and values in your organization. So there will be some managers that think this is amazing, really want to change it. Go to the CEO, go to the directors, know they're set. There's nothing they can do. They might not have had buy-in from the employees and the team members. Might be the vision or the values just are unbelievable. The staff don't buy into them. as a registered manager, what can you do to motivate people to live those values? Should they be creating some smaller ones underneath that are measurable to those bigger ones? Or should they be trying to lie, so to speak, and try and embed them even though they don't believe in them and know their team doesn't?
I think your team doesn't believe in them, and maybe you don't believe in them as a leader. You just think they just need a refresh. They're a bit, they don't really reflect where we are as a business now, what we want to achieve going forward as well. I think it is going back to have that conversation with the owner of the company, the CEO, but with a business case to actually, generate that feedback, collate that feedback, analyze that feedback, showcase, use expertise, outside expertise if you need to showcase and demonstrate. If we had a stronger vision and values, this is what it would lead to. So give them some tangible kind of benefits from re-looking at those visions and values, because there is a cost associated with changing it. You're talking about from a simple thing as updating a Facebook page to changing things on your website, to changing all that marketing collateral that we've accumulated over the years. So there are costs associated to it. So I think you need to go in with a business case, because if people don't truly believe in them, they're never gonna live by them. They're never gonna remember them. They're not gonna be meaningful. Alternatively, depending on what those company values are, you could, as a leader, I would relay them back to my team. So what it means to them in practice. So you might have a fancy one of, I'm going to use Adam's example of, kindness to stakeholders. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? So actually translate it back to them in their everyday working practice. This is what it means. This is what that value actually means. This is how we're measuring that particular value. This is why that particular value is important to us as well. So yeah, you could have maybe sub values, if you like. They've got to be linking back to the main values of the organization. Otherwise, you're never going to head in the direction you need to head in. You're never going to achieve that vision if we're not living by those values.
Yeah. And I suppose Oprah Winfrey, were you silent or were you silenced? Would say if she was running something like this, is it the values they don't believe in, or is it you? You could have the best values in the world, but if they don't believe in you as a leader, they ain't going to follow your values. And sometimes you have to sit there and think, do they believe in me? Am I the right person for this? Am I doing the best that I can do? Am I the leader that I need to be? Mark, I'm trying to segue into leadership questions here because we've put most of the show on values. Appreciate the segue. And I'm thinking to myself, actually, is it you as a leader they don't believe in? Because sometimes the hardest thing to hear as a leader is you are the problem. And that's really difficult because you either go, do you know what? Screw it, I'm done. I've had 10 years of this. I can't take any more. If they don't believe me, they can go and get another manager. I do not care. Fixed mindset, Paul Blaine. We learned something from you the last time you were on the show. Fixed mindset. Or you could go, how do I be better? How do I be the leader that my team need me to be? How do I get to that point where actually they do believe in me and I believe in me? Do you believe in you? Your team might not believe in you. Do you believe in you? Do you go into work thinking, oh God, I've got imposter syndrome and I can't do this and I can't do that? You don't believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, how are your team going to believe in you?
But I think there's a third bit to that as well, Adam, that sometimes as a leader, and I'm not talking about people that have been there 10, 20 years, but somebody that's probably relatively new to the organization in that registered manager or that leadership position, it's not until you start in an organization, maybe you realize that actually my values aren't aligned to these organizations. I don't really fit in. It's not, where I kind of sit within this. So I'll give you another example. I remember going for an informal job interview. So it was an informal chat before an actual interview, just to see if I liked it and they liked me. The place was lovely. It was really lovely. The people were really lovely. But when I walked out, I went straight on the phone to a recruiter and said, no, pull me out of it. And he asked why. And I said, I just don't see myself working there. I can't vision myself working there. I just don't think I'm a good fit for them or they're a good fit for me. And it was purely because I felt that they were, take this in a very nice way, please, everybody, but I felt they were a bit more corporate and I'm not as corporate. And so I just thought it's just not right. So I think there was a third element there that as a leader, sometimes actually just not the right fit. The organization's not getting the best out of you. You're not giving your best to the organization. And sometimes we have to be grown up enough to say, let's call it quits. And let me find an organization that does fit.
100%. I went for an interview once, and this was before the job that I'm in now. So, current employer, if you're watching, don't panic. This was, a couple of years ago now. And I remember being in the interview, and they're like, "So, how would you do this?" And I was like, "Well, it'd be great because I'd do this, and I'd let relatives be able to see the care plans using this system, and we'd do it this way, and we'd be open, and we'd be transparent." And they're like, "Oh, don't really think that's going to fit in with what we want to do here." I've just turned into Casper the Ghost. I apologize. They're like, "Oh, I don't know if that's really going to fit in with what we do here." And very much the same as you could be. So I got off the phone, got off the interview, and the recruiter, and I was like, "Not me. I'm not compromising who I am as a person, who I am as an individual, my values, just because the salary is good." I recently had the experience to test, I won't say who for, but values, my own values with something else that I do. Unfortunately, they were like, "Oh yeah, you're right." I was like, "Oh, perfect, great. I can continue doing what I do because my values aren't being compromised." Change who you are as a person, because those are the moments you start going home and you go home, you pour a glass of wine, or you eat a cup of wine, you eat a bag of crisps, and then you eat a cake, and you go to bed sad, and you think, "Oh God, I hate my job, and it's making me feel like crap." Your values are being compromised. Don't do it. You're worth more as a person.
100% agree with you. I think quite a few of us have probably been there as well. But yeah, coming back to your question, I think it is about translating those values through you as a leader. Ask yourself that question: do you believe in them? Because if you don't believe in them, I suppose it comes back always to that statement: lead by example. So if you don't believe in them, your team's never going to believe in them. And you've got to translate those values back into what does it mean in reality for individuals? What does it mean for that bank worker that he does X amount of shifts, in a month? What does it mean for that kitchen assistant that doesn't really tend to see our residents that often? But what does it actually mean for them in their job role? And that same value could mean different things depending on your job role and how you actually showcase that value.
And I guess that's where we came in earlier, where we were talking about those sub-values, because actually you could just change the wording to link it to that role. Colette in the comments has put, as a registered manager, you have to 100% believe in your organisation's values. If you have the belief in staff can see you're passionate, they then believe in work to your values too. I'm lucky to have fabulous directors who are equally as passionate as me, which always helps. And I think just listening to the both of you talk there around, actually, if you work for an organisation and you don't share the vision, you don't share the values, actually, I don't think you change as a person. I think you just die a little inside. I think you mask yourself. But actually, on that drive home, I think on that drive to work, and I've definitely worked for an organisation, you hope there's a traffic jam, or you hope you have a car crash and you don't want to turn to work, or on that drive home and the days become really long and you just become like a shell of yourself. But I think that has a knock impact too, because actually your leadership then changes, your culture changes, your staff team then notice that something isn't right. They might not know what that is because you might be saying all the right things and doing the right things, but you haven't got that buy-in, and they'll get the whiff of that. And then you'll see your increase in turnover, and then you're kind of back to square one. And I think, like you said earlier, Kavita, actually, it's a job seekers market out there. So actually, if you don't believe in the vision, or if your vision changes within your organisation, it's okay to say, actually, I don't believe in this anymore. And I think when I worked, and it doesn't take long to kind of figure out where, I'd worked there for 3-4 years, and I had no plan to change. We had an outstanding rating with the CQC. I had a great PAMS outstanding rating, but the vision of the company just changed to something that I didn't believe in at the time. It might be very different now with my experience, but at the time, I just didn't believe in it. And it was just a case of having a conversation with the director saying, he's all well and good, but I'm not the person for it because actually X, Y, Z, and I'm just not going to buy into it. And then just having that conversation with the team as well. Because I think sometimes when you then just resign because your vision and values have changed, it then sparks something within all your team that will jump ship too. But actually reassuring them that they can carry on just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean that they don't have to. And I think it's just having that kind of open and honest. Jackie has put, translate the values to be meaningful for all roles. And then obviously when we were talking, that's quite quitting, which we've obviously seen on the increase. And Petros has put, how does a leader, it might be a question, how does a leader have oversight that values are being implemented though? There's several organisational structures, and in my understanding, the pyramid structure has not worked, although I might be wrong. What are your thoughts on that, Kavita?
A great question. I think it's, as a leader, you can't have oversight on everything. You have to be able to trust your staff to do the job we're paying them to do. We've developed them, we're supporting them, and we're trusting them to do the job that they're employed to do. So we can't have absolute oversight of everything. So I kind of get what you're saying about the pyramid structure, the hierarchy. I'm not a fan of hierarchy myself either. I think it's where you have to have distributed leadership. You can't do it all. I can't just sit here and try to control everything and have oversight on everything. Actually, I'm going to develop my team. I'm going to support my team and distribute my leadership. So actually, within everybody's job role, there's an element of leadership in there. There's that element of accountability, because leadership for me is not the name badge. It's not the interview that I've got. Now I'm a manager, fancy glowing, director, whatever name badge that I've got, and now I'm a leader. That doesn't make you a leader. So you can distribute your leadership, really upskill your team to take that level of responsibility. And then together, you have that oversight. Together with the culture you've created with this distributed leadership, everybody's got that oversight to know what's working, what's not working. Where do we need to plug the gaps for something, or people need more support in this area or in that area. I don't think we can ever sit there and say we're always going to be 100% fantastic, because we won't. There will be days where they are really bad days, and people have had bad days for whatever reason. But actually, we have to look at the majority. This is how we do it here, and this is working for us. So I would always say you can't have oversight on everything. It is through that distributed leadership. But you have to trust your team to do that.
And I would say I totally agree with you, and that's where the embedding comes from. So it's in everything that you do, so make sure it's in your appraisals, make sure it's in your interviews, make sure it's in supervisions, make sure it's throughout your induction, and have them measurable. I'm all about SMART, and I don't have to scream it off the top of my head: specific, measurable,
achievable, realistic.
I can't spell either, because I was thinking, what's E in SMART?
Excellence.
Yeah, honestly, and time specific. But you've got to be able to have something that you can actually measure and do that. We all should be doing managers walk rounds every day. I agree, they're laborious. They need to be less paper, less questions, and more the feel of the home. But when you walk around your home, let's say your core values are to be kind, to be passionate, to be whatever, you can see that when you walk around your service. And if you can see people not working with those values haven't embedded, because if the values had been embedded, they would have been pulled up on supervisions or probationary parts about not working in line with your company values. And if they still didn't work again, so in line with those values, they wouldn't be in your organization. So that for me is showing you that they're not embedded, because you've still got people working in your services that don't exude those values. If you walk around and everyone's in that great mindset, or let's say you walk around and someone, let's say one of your things is about being caring, and one of the team you witness isn't being that caring, and you want to intervene, but actually one of the other team members goes up and goes, do you know what, I think you should have said that a different way because it didn't come across that nice. You could have said it that way. You're almost there. You're literally almost there, because your other team are picking that up and your other team are pulling people into account. Yeah. So hierarchical structures, horrible, hate them, gross. Don't have them. They are. I mean, they are so archaic. It's untrue. So I would say don't go with a pyramid structure. Make it so that the most important person in your service is the person using your service, for starters, and then the next most important person is the person delivering the care, because they are working with the most important person in your service every single day. You're the bottom if you're a director. You want people to grow stuff at you. If you're at the top, this magical pyramid with a crystal top, ain't nothing coming uphill, because gravity sucks, and gravity's just going to pull it all the way back down. Go to the bottom and let people throw stuff down to you, because you're there waiting to listen with a basket, patching it all and going, right, let's try and do something with this. Let's try and do something with that. But I think for your values, the only way you can tell is to get out on the floor. Do that secret boss. If people don't know who you are, for example, which is also kind of scary if they don't know who their big bosses are, but go into your service for the day and do a back to the floor day. Go, you know what, today I'm just going to work on the floor with my team. I am literally just going to work on the floor with my team. A, I'm present. B, they can see that I care about what I do. No, it should have been B after A, shouldn't it? I tell you, I can't spell. 4, then, let's just go to a number this time. 4, if they can see you out there on the floor, they know that you're willing to do absolutely anything. And then finally, you can see firsthand how your team working. And you can get the feel for it. Values are all about feeling. Crying out loud. Go and try and feel it. See how you get it in that way. Amy, not going to be overnight. Can't say it's going to be pleasant. I'm not going to say you're going to like what you're going to see. There's plenty of times in my career that I've gone out and gone, oh, I love our values and they're perfect. One of them being unapproachable in our old organization. And you see a team member who literally sits there with the door shut all day. I'm like, really? So we're not embedding our values then, are we? And then the difficult side is having those conversations are going, you're not really working in line with our values. You're not really doing it, the way that we should be doing it. The other thing that I used to love doing is every time we introduce something new, I'll use non-uniform for an example. I'll go, right, how does this sit with our values? I want to try to do something new. So before we even go out to scope to find out what people think, let's bring this back to our values and see how it fits in with them. How is changing our uniform going to get us fitting in? So our old organization that I used to work for years ago, we had community-driven, we had passionate, we had approachable, we had, I think it was innovative, and something else. I was like, right, no uniforms, right, community-driven. Well, we're going out in the community all the time with our residents and with our home care. And this is going to make it so that we're part of the community. We're not segregated. We're not looked at differently. The residents have got more respect. Perfect, great, approachable. Well, one of the concerns we had was, well, if you're not in a uniform, are people going to know to come and talk to you? Perfect, really good idea. How do we overcome that? Do we, that's part of our question. We've linked it to a value, and then it's applying it to what we want to do with an innovation. Those values are there to be used every single day with everything you do. And if they don't meet the values and you want to introduce something new, park it until you can figure out a way to make it meet your values, or change it so that it doesn't meet the values in that incarnation of it, but you've changed it to actually be something different and be something new because you've learned that it's not going to fit with your values. There's lots of ways, Petros, in which you can do this without having to go out and do full surveys and bring back reams of paper and do graphs and stuff like that. You can literally just walk into one of your homes with your values in your mind and just work on the floor for a day, and you'll learn a lot more sometimes than just a survey.
Yeah.
I think the only thing to add go on, Kavita.
No, carry on, Mark. Sorry.
Oh, no, the only thing I was going to say is just also have that, remove the ego, and actually it could be something that you're doing, something your company's doing, because actually it might be that the staff are just so overstretched they can't live your vision and your values because they just don't have time. Actually, if one of them is to be caring or nurturing or whatever it is, actually, if you've not got enough staff, actually that makes it near on impossible for them to achieve that. So have a look at the roles that you've got within your team. You might need to increase either the staff that you've got or add a role in. So like in my own organisation, we've got kind of your general managers that sit underneath your registered manager, but a lot of them said that actually we're dealing with like the HR, the performance, the sickness, the supervisions. Actually, what we'd really like is somebody that can just go out and do the observations, do them really well, so it's not a tick box exercise. We've implemented that into the organisation, and actually the team morale and the feedback from the staff is 100 times better than it was before we had that role. But actually just listening to obviously what your staff tell you. And I think it comes back, and I know we've said it time and time again, around exit interviews and listening to why your staff are leaving, because actually that gives you such good insight into actually what's wrong with the organisation or what is working really well.
Yeah.
Just thinking what you were saying then, Mark. So I was trying to think of a value which would sort of align to what you're saying. Let's say one of your values is to be happy. That's a value of our company, is to be happy. We want everyone to be happy. And you go out and go, oh, no one's happy. Don't just bin the value. Don't just go, oh, well, actually, that value doesn't work because no one's happy. Let's get rid of it so that we're not failing. Have a look at why they're not happy. Like Mark says, have a look at why they're not caring. Think about what it is. Do an RCA. Sometimes you will have to go deep dive, and you will need to do a root cause analysis, and you will need to do digging in surveys and all that boring stuff, which I love. I love doing stuff, but a lot of people don't. You will have to do that at times. But like Mark says, go real deep. Figure out why it is those values can't be achieved. Don't just turn around and go, you're rubbish, you're not doing our values. Because actually, you might not be giving them the tools for it. And just to scare the bejeebers out of you all, I think it's the first quality statement of well-led is shared learning, vision and culture, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And if you're not doing this and you're not providing the team with the support that they need, and you're failing and you get a breach of Reg 17, they're going to think, right, and something major happens and they go, has there been provider level failure here? Well, actually, there may have been. So always think about protecting yourselves as provider level and going, right, have we done enough as a provider to make sure our team have everything they need to achieve and what they want to do? Think about it selfishly as well. Cover yourself as your providers. This being said, once the report's out, CQC might not exist. So, let's just wait and see.
Who knows? But yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Adam, and Mark as well. And I think it is about supporting people and providing the people, your team, with the tools to be able to meet those values. And equally through your leadership style. So if one of your values is kindness, compassion, respect, something along those lines. But when you bring somebody into, have a meeting with one of your team members to tell them off, well, you're not treating them with kindness, compassion, and respect. If you are taking somebody down a formal HR road, which ends up in a disciplinary, which may result in dismissal from post, you can still do that by treating somebody with kindness, respect, and compassion. So again, if you're not showcasing and living and breathing these values and leading by example in absolutely everything that you do, your team are never going to do it whatsoever. So there is that sense of leadership that sits through. But remember, when I say leadership, I'm not just talking about the person at the top of the tree. That distributed leadership, everybody really is believing in it and leading by example.
And everyone's a leader. I get this all the time. Whenever I used to do training for people, and they'd be like, what do you mean by a leader? Well, what if you don't have people in these leadership positions? We can't just give everyone a leadership position. I was like, right, so who does your inductions? Well, I do as a manager. No. Who do you buddy them up with on the floor to show them what to do? Well, the carer. They are a leader.
Yeah.
When you have double ups on a visit, if you're home care, one person takes charge, yes, because that's how we do a double up. They are a leader. Mm-hmm. Anyone guiding anybody is a leader. The people who use our services are leaders in their own care. Everyone is a leader in social care. It is not a position. It is just part of being in social care. Everyone is a leader. Everyone needs good leadership skills.
And sometimes you do, unfortunately, see managers, etc., almost discourage people from taking the lead and becoming that leader on their shift or that leader with the people that they're working with. And sometimes they are labeled as the challenging ones, the gobby ones, whatever words you want to use. But actually, those people are your key influencers. As a leader, really identify who are those key influencers in my team. Who are the ones that are the key influencers in the night shift, in the day shift, in the kitchen? Those are the ones to really start working with, because they'll be the ones spreading your message. They'll be the ones, develop things with them, involve them in decision making. They'll go out and do that job for you. They're your key influencers. They're not challengers. They're not gobby people. They're the key people.
I could literally wax lyrical about this with you all night, Kavita, because that's the conflict you need in an organization. You need people in your organization that are going to go, but why?
Yes.
But why? But why? But why? And the minute they start saying, could we do it this way? And you go, no, we're doing it my way. They're going to go away and go, well, actually, you don't really care about me. You don't trust me. And because you don't trust me, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Because you're not listening to what I'm saying, I'm not going to commit. I ain't going to commit to anything. Because I'm not going to commit. I don't care about your goals. I'm just going to think about me. How can I make sure I'm doing okay so that when I go to my next job, I'm going to have a good reference to go with or a good resume to go with? They're going to stop caring about your group values. They're also going to go to the team and go, oh, don't bother going to the manager.
Yeah.
To do it her way anyway. And that way, boom, you've killed your culture. You've literally you might as well put the nails in the coffin yourself and go 6 feet under. Not like die. I'm not saying you to go and die. I'm just saying, your leadership in your home is dead. That was a really bad metaphor. But you are literally just killing your culture in your home there. You do not listen to anybody and you just want to overtalk them and go, actually, cute, but I'm going to do it my way anyway. No. Fail as a team. If you're going to fail as a team. It's much nicer to fail as a group than fail on your own. And believe me, if you fail on your own and you've not got your team behind you, don't stay in your job because it won't be nice for you and it's harder to come out of. Just fail together.
And I suppose it does. It comes back to that whole point of that purpose of the team, and to have that, create that really high performing team. People need clarity. People need that understanding of what is it that we're doing here? What is it we're trying to achieve? The vision. How are we actually going to achieve it? Your values, that sense of leadership, that hopefully is distributed leadership, that sense of trust, dropping the ego, replacing it with authenticity. That's when you start getting that real high performance team. I always use the analogies of football. Sorry, a bit of a football geek here, but I always use the analogy of football. Yeah, that's how you get you when you see the coach, the manager throughout a whole season. So if you think about Pep and Man City, he doesn't kick a ball, he doesn't save a goal, he doesn't defend anything, he doesn't strike, and is a great striker, but his team are doing it. How is this person? I know he's got a big team behind him, but how is this team ensuring that team on the pitch actually is performing and really is performing high-level performers? I'm not a Man City supporter, by the way. I thought I'd use them. So yeah,
it's all right. It's lost on Adam and I. We'll have to get you back, Kavita, to talk more on leadership, because we've spoken so much about vision and values and less about leadership. But I think there's definitely an appetite for actually how to improve your leadership, how you can change your leadership style depending on the situation that you're faced with, and so much more. Just quickly, Jackie did say in answer to Petrus's question around KPIs, and I did message Adam in the background, but we've never done a show on KPIs, and it's something that I see discussed on the manager groups so often about how to set them, what are meaningful KPIs that get the best out of your team. So yeah, definitely another conversation that we will have to have.
Definitely.
And KPIs about goalposts that move. If you're going to set a KPI, set a KPI. Don't go, oh, well, you've achieved it now, so I'm going to make it harder now. So, because you've done it too early. No. The KPI, let's be fair to our team as well, because that's going to disengage them. I'm not going to lie, Kavita. I got home from work today, 7.5 hours driving today. I was absolutely knackered. I'm freezing. Partner won't let me put the heating on, and I was sulking and I was grumpy. And this episode tonight has really cheered me up. It sort of reminded me of the excitement of being in positions of trust in social care. I was going to say in leadership positions or management positions, but actually it's not. It's positions of trust. We have PIPOT for a reason. We are people in positions of trust. And that is what it is. And it's so exciting to be here and to sort of support the newer generations. I mean, Christ, I've only just turned 35 and I'm already thinking about ending my career and bringing up all the other new people now, because by the time I get to 45, the people who are in my team now at 18, I want them to be here. I want them to be in these positions. And it's really in this sort of powerful position where you can just inspire people to do the best they can do. And that's what's exciting about it. That's what excites me about visions and values. Yes, I want social care to be sexy. And I know that sounds a bit on the head and a little bit daft, but Mark will remember that we had a conference at one part in one time. I literally had the whole auditorium out saying social care is sexy. And it's so important that we start to learn to embrace the fun aspects of it. But one way that we can do that is through people like yourself, Kavita. So if anyone is wanting to know more about this, is wanting to learn more about this, how do they get in touch with you? How do they use LDG training and get more of this sort of beautiful insight from yourself?
So you can follow us, click onto our website. It's just simple, www.ldgtraining.co.uk. It is a bit of an old website. We are in the process of revamping it and making it look sexy. There you go, Adam. I'm on LinkedIn as well, so you can contact me on LinkedIn. I think a lot of people I'm already connected with. I think we also sponsor the Caring View somewhere in the background. So yeah, by all means, get in touch with us. More than happy to help. More than happy just to, throw ideas about as well and look into things that, will work for you as well. So yeah, contact us. Let's have a chat.
Definitely. Head over to the supplier page on our website and you will find a direct link to LDG training from there as well. I think contact details, emails and what have you. So visit our website first and then go find Kavita. Go and download some resources from us and then go and find Kavita. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Mark, have you enjoyed tonight?
I have really enjoyed tonight. I think it's been packed with so many tips and tricks. And I think there will be a lot of managers out there that want to start on the journey of vision and values. And I think the golden nugget for me tonight was just how you broke it down for people around actually your vision is that Northern Star, what you want to achieve, and then your values are just those steps on how you're going to achieve it. I thought that was just a really nice nugget takeaway just to break it down, because I think sometimes you just get lost in the lingo. Yeah, it was just simple, and I really like that. It stuck with me.
Good.
But no, I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Right, as a blog called "The Vision Is Your North Star" or whatever it is, and I think we should feature it on the website. So if you feel up to writing a blog for us, Kavita, we'll happily feature it on the website. Mark is right. The way you laid it out was just brilliant tonight.
Oh, thank you. It's been a joy. I love coming on these sessions. Absolutely love it. So yeah, thank you for having me once again. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Mark, I don't know where the hell time's gone. Everyone watching, I'm sorry that we're 10 minutes over. We do try and keep to a strict hour. One day we will do that. This is the part of the show, if you watch regularly, where I go, Mark, what have we got on next week?
I do know for once. Sometimes you catch me off guard. So next week we have got Ketan from Predicare joining us. So yeah, it'll be a really good conversation around digital. I'm sure there'll be something around AI built into that. So yeah, but really looking forward to the conversation next week.
Perfect. I know it's still a month and a half off it, but do make sure you go and register for the car show at Birmingham in October 9th and 10th. Mark and I will be there. We'll probably be out for drinky poos in the evening, although mine will be non-alcoholics over a year sober now, which is, woo, achievement. But we have got a couple of talks while we're there. One's on the keynote. Do come in and join us for it all around regulation and social care. But Mark, I believe that's going to be a topic that we will be discussing as well on the show in the near future, hoping that this autumn report comes out soon. So that we can go through that and discuss the regulation in care and what the recommendations have been from the independent review, which I found very interesting. So do join us next week. Ketan's a great guy. Predicare are amazing. 7:30, as always, live across all the social medias. If you're going to forget, just go and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, give us a follow. You'll get notified as soon as we get it set up to go on for an episode. You'll never miss it then. You'll never miss it. And if you have missed it, just watch us on Catch Up. It does well for our views. Until then, Kavita, absolutely beautiful to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome back whenever, absolutely whenever. Open invitation as always. And Mark, great to see you. Lovely doing the show together. And we'll see you all next week. Take care.
See you later. Thank you very much.